I'm going to read you a statement which was issued today by Lucas Browne via Hatton Promotions. I made it clear to the public last week that I intended to do all that I can to clear my name after the devastating news of the positive drug tests following my successful defeat of Ruslan Chagaev for the WBA Heavyweight World Championship. I am now able to report to you that on February 29th, shortly after arriving in Chechnya, I was subjected to a randomly timed drug test by VADA. This was a test of blood and urine. The post-fight test was a urine test only. I would like to again stress it was myself and my team who requested the bout be subject to VADA testing. I now hold clear and unequivocal evidence that this was a negative test and shows clearly that I arrived in Chechnya a clean athlete. Hatton Promotions have made this information available to the media today. So there you have it. That is a statement from Lucas Browne regarding his situation, and I'll put a link to that statement so you can go read it for yourselves in its entirety. If what Lucas Browne is saying here is correct, and that he was tested in Chechnya and tested negative before the fight, then I'm sorry, folks. Those of you who don't like the idea that Lucas Browne's sample was tampered with. But if this is actually correct, if this is accurate, then I find it very difficult to believe that Lucas Browne's sample wasn't tampered with. I find it very difficult to believe that this guy hasn't been spiked. And several people have brought this up in the comment section of other videos I've done about this topic. And they mentioned the fact that Freza Kendo, when he fought Ruslan Chagaev in Chechnya, he also tested positive after the fight. Ruslan Chagaev, however, didn't win that fight. So what would be the motivation of him testing positive? Well, if you cast your minds back to when Alexander Povetkin fought Mariusz Wach, I was very suspicious about the veracity of the claim that Mariusz Wach had tested positive for drugs after the Povetkin fight. I was very, very suspicious about that. Because going into the fight, Wach said that he was concerned that he wouldn't be paid for the fight. He knew that he was in Povetkin's backyard. He knew that the spotlight was on him because he tested positive for a banned substance before. And what did he have? Like a year ban, a 2-year ban, something like that, Mariusz Wach, after the Klitschko fight. So it was a fairly lengthy ban where he couldn't earn any money. And then he's going to go into the Povetkin fight and take drugs again. It don't make no sense. And going into the fight, he said he was worried about not being paid. And I said to you, the reason that I was suspicious about that positive drug test is because I don't think Mariusz Wach wants another ban so he can't box. He don't want that. He knows the Russian commission are going to be breathing down his neck fighting Povetkin in Russia. He couldn't possibly be that stupid to go there and be on something. And he's worried about not being paid as well. He don't want to give them any excuse to not pay him. Well, in my opinion, and as I expressed back then, the reason why Mariusz Wach's sample, in my opinion, may have been contaminated is to give them a reason to withhold his purse. And that's what Freza Kendo's team believe was the reason, because they were obviously suggesting, implying that there was some foul play at hand when Kendo tested positive after he fought Chagaev a couple years back. And the implication is that they wanted an excuse to withhold Freza Kendo's money, that the promoter of that event, whose name I cannot pronounce, but I'll leave a link to this article where I got this information, that he just wanted an excuse to withhold Kendo's purse and pocket it for himself. All right, allegedly. That's what they're saying in the article. And It's a very interesting read, the stuff that Oquendo's team say in the article. They say that Oquendo's trainer was actually threatened before the fight in an elevator that if Oquendo knocks Chagaev out, neither Oquendo nor the trainer are going to leave Grozny. They also say that Oquendo was more or less kidnapped and forced back to the arena to conduct a drug test under the Russian anti-doping agency. They also claim that their passports were withheld at the airport, or their passports mysteriously went missing at the airport, and the authorities there tried to extort money out of them. They're claiming all types of stuff. Okay, so go have a read of that article for yourselves. But going back to the Lucas Browne situation, clenbuterol is used primarily as a diuretic, a weight loss drug. So if Lucas Browne took this intentionally, you have to explain to me, logically now, why he would take this drug when he's already in the country for the fight. He's not going to lose any weight. He's a heavyweight. He's not going to lose any weight in, 2-3 days before the fight. So why would he take a weight loss drug? It don't make no sense. He's a heavyweight. Heavyweights can fight at whatever weight they like. There's no weight limit at heavyweight. So it would make no sense for him to take a diuretic just a couple days before the fight. Totally pointless. Now, there are apparently instances where clenbuterol can be used as a performance enhancer. But let's look at this. Are you trying to tell me, those of you out there, because there are some people, there's a contingent of people who are desperate for some reason for Lucas Browne to be guilty of knowingly and deliberately taking a PED. So as I was saying, there are instances where apparently clenbuterol can be used as a performance enhancer. But let's just look at this logically, shall we? Lucas Browne is the one who requested VADA testing in the first place. Lucas Browne is not rich. VADA testing is not cheap. So for him to do that is not, that can't be taken lightly. For him to go out of his way to want VADA testing, come out of his own pocket to pay for all that, when this guy don't have a lot of money and he's already had an extensive camp that also costs money, sparring that costs money. And this is not a man that's rich. You're going to tell me he's going to go to all those lengths to get VADA testing, to go to the guy's backyard in Grozny, Chechnya, pass the first drug test clean before the fight, 4 or 5 days before the fight, and then he's going to deliberately take a performance enhancing substance just a couple days before the fight, knowing that VADA are going to test him after the fight and he's definitely going to be caught? How stupid would he have to be? The only logic, the only way you could possibly say that Lucas Browne did that is if you are implying that Lucas Browne deliberately wanted to be caught. Because there's no way he was getting out of that situation. If he deliberately took clenbuterol a couple days before the fight, knowing that he employed VADA to do the testing, then he knew there was no way he was going to get out of that situation without being caught. So is that what you're saying? You're saying Lucas Browne intentionally wanted to get caught and banned and lose his livelihood? How stupid do people have to be to think that Lucas Browne would deliberately take clenbuterol a couple days before a fight? When he's a heavyweight, you don't have to make weight. It's just mind-blowing. If Lucas Browne was going to take a performance-enhancing drug knowingly and deliberately, then surely he would have taken it long ago, way back at the start of his camp. So that it would have been flushed out of his system by the end of camp. That's normally what fighters do who take PEDs. They don't take PEDs a couple days before the fight. Yeah? You would have to be totally insane to take PEDs a couple days before the fight, knowing VADA tested you after the fight. Nobody does that. Not unless you're completely insane. So Lucas Browne would have, if he was going to, he would have taken it long, long before the fight. But he didn't. They can prove that because, unless it was flushed out of his system, but still, they can prove that he was clean going into the fight because VADA tested him, 4 or 5 days before the fight in Grozny. And that sample was clean. Lucas Browne is not Andrew Golota. Yeah, Andrew Golota was a crazy guy. If it was Andrew Golota, even he wouldn't be stupid enough to take something a couple of days before a fight, knowing that he would be tested after the fight stringently by the very company that he went out of his way to employ and came out of his pocket to employ. Even he wouldn't be stupid enough to do that. But if it was someone like Andrew Golota, who has a history of erratic and weird behavior, then maybe it might be conceivable that he'd take a PED a couple days before a fight in these circumstances. But does Lucas Browne strike you as being as crazy or stupid as Andrew Golota? You certainly don't strike me as being that way. Lucas Browne mentioned actually in an interview before all this hoopla and this scandal came about. It was a couple days after the fight. He mentioned how gracious and how nice he was treated over there in Grozny. He said they put him up in an amazing hotel. His team had the whole floor of some 5-star hotel and they laid out, they rolled out a red carpet for him and all this stuff. And to me, it sounds like they rocked him to sleep. That's what it sounded like to me. They rocked Lucas Browne to sleep. They sung him a lullaby, they rocked him to sleep, and they put something in his baby bottle. I'm telling you, that is what it looks like to me. Only my opinion, but in light of this new information, as far as I'm concerned, you would have to be flat out stupid to not strongly suspect that Lucas Browne has been set up in this situation. Anyone with an ounce of common sense can read this one with their eyes closed. It's that damn obvious. And I can't see any other reasonable explanation for what has happened here. If you've got one, please enlighten us in the comment section below. But it has to be reasonable, people. Don't come up with rubbish. It has to be reasonable. Why would a man, if you're saying he's guilty, why would a man who has come out of his own pocket paying for VADA testing that's not cheap and he's not rich, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him at the age of 36, why would he go to Grozny, pass the first test before the fight, and then take something after that, knowing that he's going to be VADA tested after the fight, knowing that he's going to be caught, squandering all the money that he spent, all the hard work he's put in, and getting himself banned so he can't earn a living after that? Why the hell would he do that? I can't get my head around the way some people are thinking when it comes to this whole situation. It's amazing. Again, people were saying that Tyson Fury was paranoid and that he's an idiot and all this type of stuff because he didn't want to drink from no water or whatever he was offered out in Germany. No, Tyson Fury's not paranoid. Tyson Fury's not crazy. You are just incredibly naive. Tyson Fury is a very savvy man. Yeah, that's why he weren't drinking no water out in Germany after the Klitschko fight, because he's savvy. Anyone who is calling Tyson Fury an idiot or whatever, paranoid, oh, it's a conspiracy, as if conspiracies don't exist, as if the word was just invented for a laugh to describe fictional events. No, people get convicted on conspiracy charges every single day in courts all over the world. Conspiracies happen every damn day. So was it a conspiracy to relieve Lucas Browne of his newly captured WBA heavyweight title? In my opinion, absolutely yes. Based on this evidence that's just come out now, with him passing the pre-fight test in Grozny just a couple of days before the fight, in my opinion, there is no other logical explanation other than this guy has had his food or drink deliberately spiked with this substance, or somebody has actually got to his actual test sample. That's the only logical explanation I can deduce from this. So if you guys want to continue up in fantasy land, you know, running around with your eyes wide shut, trying to make up ridiculous explanations as to why this would have happened, as I've just told you ad nauseum in this video, and I don't have to keep repeating myself over and over again, but sometimes I have to make it stick in some people's heads. The only way you can explain Lucas Browne being guilty in this situation is if he is completely insane. He would have to be mentally insane to have taken a performance-enhancing drug a couple days before the fight, knowing that he'd be VADA tested, knowing that he'd be caught, knowing that all the money he spent on VADA testing would be squandered, knowing that if he won the title, it would be taken away, knowing that he'd be banned and wouldn't have, you know, any means to earn a living from boxing for an extended period after that. That's the level that you have to, that's the only way you can, that's the only story, that's the only narrative that fits with these set of facts. If you are adamant that Lucas Browne intentionally took PEDs, then what you are saying is that he wanted to be caught and that he's clinically insane. That's what you're saying. And I definitely don't agree with that, obviously. Anyway, it's your boy Hatman. I'm out.